Another chapter of England's top tier division is set to unfold before our very eyes. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, this video is centering around the return of the English Premier League. I, for one, cannot wait to see what this forthcoming season has in store for us, as the Premier League once again is set to get underway this weekend. And with that, of course, is the return of the Premier League predictions video. This is, of course, the video where I go through each and every single game that the Premier League weekend has in store for us. I talk about the games, analyse them, and try to give my predictions on how I think each and every single game will turn out across the weekend. 10 games, 10 predictions. But before we get into all of that, for game week 1 of the brand new season, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And get involved in the comment section. Use and abuse that comment section, people. I want to hear from you on each and every single game. I want to hear your thoughts, your comments, opinions. But most of all, of course, I want to hear your predictions. This is a Premier League predictions video after all, people. So please do get involved down below. I would love to hear from you all on what you have to make about each and every single Premier League game from game week 1 of the brand new shiny Premier League season. Cool. Okay, we got it all out of the way. Let's get on with it. Let's talk Premier League games, and we're starting with the game that's going to kick off the brand new season. Friday night's encounter between Manchester United and Fulham at Old Trafford. And I've gone with 2-1 Manchester United. I think it's very important for game week 1 just to get that win under your belts. You don't really want to be chasing a win later on down the line. Just get that first win out of the way and done with. And that's what I kind of expect from a lot of these teams. And Man United are no different. Like I say, last week when they played in the Community Shield, I thought they played some good stuff at times. I thought that maybe they were a little bit unlucky, maybe not to have picked up the silverware at the end of the game, but that's obviously the way that football goes sometimes. This will obviously be a big test for them. Marco Silva's side in Fulham looking pretty okay in pre-season. Emil Smith-Rowe has seemingly settled in pretty well in pre-season. Obviously pre-season is a lot different to the actual proper game when it comes to a more competitive style, of course, but we shall see, obviously, how this one turns out. I always think game week 1 is probably the hardest game week to predict because you never quite know, and you can never really tell who's match fit properly. Do certain teams start off a little slow and build up? So it's going to be very interesting on these two teams' part what plays out on Friday night. I cannot wait for this game to actually unfold. I want to see what Manchester United are going to be like this season. I want to obviously see what Fulham are like this season, because I feel like there's more to come from this Fulham side, and especially with the couple of additions that they have made in the transfer window. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they play out. But I do think Man United get the job done by any means necessary, by hook or by crook. I think they will grind out a result, and I think Bruno Fernandes will be massive for the Red Devils. So I've gone with a 2-1 victory to Erik ten Hag's side to kick off the brand new season. Moving on to the first of Saturday's lunchtime games of this campaign, and it sees Ipswich Town, the Premier League new boys, host Liverpool. And what a match this will be for Ipswich, and what a match this will be for the Premier League, and what a match this will be for, well, Liverpool as well, I guess. No one wants to face a Premier League new boy, especially not away from home on the first day of the Premier League. This is going to be an interesting encounter. This is going to be an exciting encounter for Ipswich and their fans back in the Premier League after a, I believe, 20-year or maybe a little bit more absence. It's going to be huge for them. It's going to be huge for them. They're facing an uphill battle this season to obviously stay up, but it's not out of the realms of possibility for them to do so. This is going to be a very, very interesting game, especially for the neutrals. For me, obviously being a Liverpool fan, I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't a little worried. This has all the makings of a difficult encounter. And I think I said in my live stream yesterday that I did when talking about the Martin Zubimendi deal being completely collapsing because of his rejection of Liverpool. I said yesterday that this is a game that seems to have 1-1 written all over it. This seems to have a feel about it in which Ipswich gets something from this game. And that's where my worry is. I've gone 2-1 Liverpool because I just think we will manage to grind it out some way, somehow. But I genuinely would not be surprised if Ipswich gets something from this game. And then the outrage in the aftermath of the game, if Ipswich are to get something from this, will be absolute nuclear from the Liverpool fans. I can assure you that right now. I'm hoping Liverpool get the job done. I'm hoping Liverpool will have enough about them to get the job done. But of course, you never want to go away from home first and foremost to a newly promoted club, especially a club that's been waiting 20 odd years to be back in England's top tier division. So I've gone with a 2-1 win to Liverpool. But of course, I wouldn't be shocked in any way, shape or form if Ipswich gets something from this game. Next up, Arsenal looking to go that one step further this season in taking Premier League glory, begin their campaign against Wolves. And I've gone with a 2-0 win to Arsenal. Arsenal have again looked pretty solid pre-season. They've made the one addition so far to their squad. Looking to obviously make more as the window draws to a close, but for right now they should still have enough about them to go on and beat a Wolves side who have lost a couple of big name players in their ranks this campaign. It's going to be interesting to see how Gary O'Neill continues in the job at Wolves, but we know that he's a pretty good manager. But Arsenal never normally have a major issue with Wolves. They normally do dispatch them pretty well, and that's why I've gone with a win and a clean sheet to kick off the new season for Arsenal. I think Arsenal are looking pretty okay pre-season, and I think they'll carry that form over into the Premier League campaign. 2-0 Arsenal is what I've gone with here, but again, never take anything for granted. These games could be potential banana skins. Next up, Everton against Brighton. An interesting game, this one. We know obviously Everton last season had a pretty strong defensive record. We know that Brighton last season were hit with plenty of injuries and, you know, maybe a hint of staleness as well. It's going to be an interesting game, this one. An Everton side, like I say, strong defensively. Maybe going forward don't score enough goals against the Brighton side, who I'm not necessarily sure what to expect this season under their new manager, under their new regime. It could be a very interesting game that unfolds before our very eyes, 3 o'clock on Saturday. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I felt safe to call it down the middle. I'm not entirely confident by this, but at the same time, I feel like this may be it. This could genuinely go any which way because I'm not necessarily sure what to expect from Brighton. I know exactly what to expect from Everton. I know it's going to be a strong, resolute defensive performance. And FPL-wise, I have Jordan Pickford in my team, so I'm sort of hoping they do manage to keep a clean sheet. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily sure what to expect from Brighton. So I thought like I'd go a bit safe and I'd probably call it down the middle for a draw. But again, not entirely confident by this particular one. So we'll move on. Newcastle against Southampton at St James's Park. Newcastle taking on one of the Premier League new boys in Southampton, who are facing an uphill battle this season, of course, to remain in the Premier League for another year. And I've gone with a 3-1 victory to Newcastle. I think that this has got all the makings of a game in which Newcastle will fancy their chances, especially being at home first game of the season, of laying down a statement of intent ahead of the brand new campaign. I think that this is going to be a big opportunity for Alexander Isak in particular to open his goal-scoring account, and that's why I've got him in my Premier League fantasy team, and that's why I've got him captained as well. I really fancy Newcastle's chances this year. I think they could be in for a very good season, and that's why, obviously, in my predictions video that I did, I put them in 5th. I put them to finish 5th this season. 3-1 Newcastle. Again, you never normally want to be playing the Premier League new teams, but at the same time, they are at home, Newcastle. Southampton will pose threats, no doubt about it, which is why I don't think Newcastle will keep a clean sheet, but at the same time, I still think that Eddie Howe's side will get the job done. It'll be interesting to see how both of these teams go about their business this season. But yeah, I think Newcastle could be in for a very good campaign. Southampton are going to be in for a long and difficult one, of course, being one of the Premier League new boys and having to face that uphill battle of trying to remain in the Premier League. But I think Newcastle will be in for a very, very good season. So that's just my little tip there for the Magpies, and hopefully that comes to fruition. Next, moving on to Nottingham Forest against Bournemouth. This one is always kind of a bit of a classic. I think in the past few occasions, normally this ends 3-2. And I'm expecting goals galore in this one. I'm expecting a kind of sluggish, mistake-filled, but action-packed sort of opening fixture here. In which Forest and Bournemouth play out a 2-2 draw. A 4-goal thriller split evenly down the middle. I'm interested to see how both of these teams react this season. I'm interested to see how Forest's new additions, how they adapt to the squad. Elliot Anderson looks to be a decent signing. I did rate him at Newcastle. They've also brought that new defender in who looks pretty decent as well. And as for Bournemouth, I'm looking forward to seeing how they react to the absence of Dominic Solanke, who of course joined Spurs about a week ago. I'm interested to see how both of these teams match up and line up and how they're going to go about their business this season. Does Andoni Iraola of Bournemouth, of course, continue his impressive start to life at Bournemouth in the Premier League? And what about Nuno Espirito Santo? Does he manage to progress Nottingham Forest? Does he manage to maybe start moving them up the table in the Premier League? A lot of unanswered questions that we're going to get answers to this season. I'm looking forward to this one, though. This one should be a very good encounter. I'm anticipating goals, which is why I have gone for the 2-2 draw. But again, wouldn't be shocked any which way if either of these teams were to go on and find a winner. But I think it will be a tight affair. I think both teams will play effective football that will hurt the other. And I'm expecting plenty of mistakes as well. So let's just see how this one lines up. Next up, the first of the Saturday evening clashes will be at the London Stadium. West Ham United are taking on Aston Villa. Aston Villa, of course, coming off the back of an incredible season in the last campaign, finishing 4th. Gaining Champions League football and looking forward to what should be a very exciting and interesting season as far as what they're concerned. And West Ham starting a new era under Julian Lopetegui. They got rid of the tried and tested and ever consistent David Moyes and have replaced him with a little bit of the unknown in Julian Lopetegui. Interested to see how West Ham do this season. They have a very good side on paper. They really, really do. And I think that they're going to maybe shock a few people this season with how well they do. But it's all about whether or not Lopetegui is going to be that guy taking them forward. It is a bit of a risk. It is a bit of a gamble. And we shall see how it goes. And as for Aston Villa, it's going to be interesting to see if they can sort of replicate what they did last season. They'll obviously have to balance a more intense European competition this time around than they did last campaign in the Champions League. Obviously, that doesn't start till next month, but we shall see how that goes. As for right now, though, this one could be very interesting. And again, it's a little bit like I said with Brighton. It's a little bit of the unknown because it's a new manager at the helm for one of these two sides. I'm also understanding that Ollie Watkins and maybe one or two of the other Aston Villa key players didn't exactly get a full pre-season due to holidays and summer tournaments, summer competitions, European Championships, Copa America, Olympics, that kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams play this one out. Again, if I had to pick a winner, I'd probably stick my neck on the line and go with Aston Villa. But I think I want to call it down the middle. I think I'm going to go safe again. And I think I'm going to say that West Ham and Aston Villa play out a 1-1 draw come the final whistle. But again, Aston Villa very well could, with the players that they have, the individual brilliance, could very well find a winner in this one. Moving on, another 1-1 draw I've gone for here in the first of the Sunday games between Brentford and Crystal Palace. I'm very much interested to see how both of these teams play out their season. Brentford, not the best of seasons last time out. They continued under Thomas Frank, and obviously they were in a relegation battle last season, which they managed to survive, all things considered, pretty comfortably, I guess. But at the same time, it's still, hopefully, is something that they want to try and avoid this season. And Crystal Palace, of course, who were the most probably informed team towards the end of the campaign last season under their new manager, Oliver Glasner. He managed to guide them to a top half finish, taking over from, of course, Roy Hodgson towards the end of the campaign in the last few months of that season. I'm interested to see how the improvement goes at Brentford. I'm interested to see how the continued progression of Oliver Glasner's Crystal Palace keeps on going. I've gone with a 1-1 draw here. I just think it'll be one of those very early, early season games, full of mistakes, full of a bit of rustiness maybe. And I think it's something that obviously both teams can maybe take advantage of and get something out of. It'll be interesting from Brentford's point of view to see whether or not, obviously, Ivan Toney's head is in the game. I'm sure he'll be playing some part in this as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares, because obviously there was a lot of speculation surrounding a potential move for the England striker going forward. That's not materialised this summer so far. So it'll be interesting to see where his head is at and whether or not it's with Brentford or it's in the game or whatever. So that could be interesting to note. But other than that, I've called it down the middle. But again, if I had to choose one team to win, I'd probably lean more towards Crystal Palace. But either way, very much interested to see how both of these teams play out this fixture. Next, moving on to Monday night's game. We're jumping ahead to Monday night's game, and that will see Leicester City, one of the Premier League new boys, the third and final one of the Premier League new boys, take on Tottenham. And I've gone with a 3-1 victory to Ange Postecoglou's side. Now, again, similarly to the Liverpool situation, you do not want to be facing one of the Premier League new boys on the first game of their season, and especially not away from home. Having said that, as good of a squad that Leicester have, obviously a new manager at the helm, new regime in Steve Cooper rather than Enzo Maresca. We obviously know the situation behind that. I think Tottenham's starting 11 will just blow Leicester out the water. I really do. I just think Tottenham's starting 11 will blow Leicester out the water. I'm very much interested to see the progression of Ange Postecoglou this season. Whether or not he adapts more, whether or not he shows a bit more flexibility to his tactical nuance and everything else. And I'm very much interested to see how Leicester can do in the Premier League, being back in England's top tier division, of course. They're going to face a bit of an uphill struggle to stay up this season, and especially if a points deduction is set to hit them hard, as many people are claiming it might. How they obviously managed to recover from that. But in saying that, in the here and now, in this game, I think Tottenham will have too much about them to win this game, to get the 3 points, to get the first win of the season under their belts. And yeah, I think maybe the likes of Dominic Solanke, maybe we get to see him in a Tottenham shirt and how he'll do. And Heung-min Son, of course, could be key to that. I'm interested to see how Leicester set up. Obviously, do they try and counter maybe Tottenham's high line if they are anticipating that there's still going to be an astronomical high line of Spurs. So, yes, all in all, could be a very interesting game for us to feast our eyes upon on Monday night. But I've gone with a Tottenham win. I think they'll just have too much about them to win this game. And finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this opening weekend of the brand new Premier League season, I see it being Chelsea taking on Manchester City at Stamford Bridge. The Premier League champions are in action against one of the most chaotic teams in the Premier League, shall we say, as Manchester City look to be defending their crown this year and maybe even going for a 5th Premier League title in a row, and they take on Chelsea, who have made signings galore and been very, 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 very active in this transfer window, and I've also got a new manager at the helm in Enzo Maresca. Look, all in all, there is no better time to be facing Manchester City and getting one of the 2 Manchester City games that you've got to face them this season out the way and done with. We know that City sometimes take a while to get fully into gear. We know that City sometimes take a fair few games for them to start clicking and to really start to warm up. So this is a very good opportunity for Chelsea, in my opinion, to obviously maybe lay a glove on City and get something from this game, which maybe later on down the line you wouldn't. However, in saying that, I'm not entirely convinced by this Chelsea squad. I'm not entirely convinced by their pre-season preparations. I'm not entirely convinced by their signings, their pre-season friendlies. Anything about Chelsea really I'm not really convinced about. The only thing I am convinced about is maybe 1 or 2 players in the likes of Cole Palmer, for example. Other than that, I'm not convinced in the slightest, and I think it could be a very, very, very long season once again for those Chelsea faithful, and that's why I have predicted them to finish quite low in the Premier League, in all honesty, and that's why I'm predicting them here to lose to Manchester City. City, like I say, they don't normally start the season off in the best of ways. I think under Pep Guardiola, I think I remember reading the other day that they've only won once, maybe twice on the opening day during his reign as manager, which is extraordinary, to say the least. But I think they will pick up another win here. I think with their main players seemingly back at the helm, back in the squad and everything, I think they'll get the win here. I think they'll have enough about them to win, and of course they still have a strong strength in depth, even if they don't start all of their main players right from the off. So I think the strength and depth of City will tell, but it could be a good opportunity for Chelsea to get something on the board. We shall see how this one plays out for the Blues. We shall see how this one plays out for Pep Guardiola's side. But I am going 3-1 to City, and I think that they'll get the job done in this one. And there you have it. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of each and every single Premier League game that we've talked about across this opening weekend of a brand new Premier League campaign? I would love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That'll make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure. But mainly, of course, your predictions, guys. Hit them down below in the comment section. Use and abuse that comment section, people, with your predictions. I would love to hear what you have to say about this weekend's opening round of Premier League action. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up. Enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.